I started it recording.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So, March the 5th, Tuesday, on the Facebook page, I've been working on the 3D printer, which is the 12-inch frame version, the new update improvements. We can go over that a little bit. I also did a little bit of work on the plan. So I
So I saw the, what was that, Jen? I saw the thing with Greg Gage. It seems like the neural sort of kit stuff, which they do have nice markups on those, that's for sure. But I see that he said that their stuff is cheaper. I can understand that they have there's not a lot of, I guess, the science kit industry is obviously not very competitive, I guess is one way to put it. But because it sounded like their competitors have really even higher markups, is what he said. But it's hmm And then there's markups by the distributors and all that, so they're all getting quite a bit on the whole kit system, which I can see. Plus the price, it didn't look that bad. I looked at a lot of some of the more complex kits. It was like an Arduino, a board, a shield, or something. And I can see how that's a niche where you can do real science that you can write a paper on or whatever, like you said, where it's kind of hard. I mean, the OSC thing is more like trying to get people to sort of join the construction of things in a collaborative manner. And I don't want to say education is just kind of, it's a little, well, it's not that it's just dumbed down to the point that it's hard to do that. I mean, there's lots of, there's always been shop classes and students do, older students do welding in high school and all kinds of things. But it's, well, some of it is the convenience factor. I think it always a lot comes back to the convenience factor. People would rather, and institutions included, they want to buy a package and then there's just a 3D printer to have for students to use or something. They want quick turnkey solutions with all the nice software and these sorts of things. That stuff sells well with businesses and probably education institutions too. That's probably often the convenience issue, I guess, is a thing that OSC is kind of up against more, maybe. Um, mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's what it looks like. It's a networking thing, and yeah, it's what it's. And there's probably very few things available to some degree in that space too. So, yeah, when somebody knows somebody, it's a niche and something that fits the potential for some educational tools, then that's what they buy. So, yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, we can make all kinds of kits and plastic models and maybe some functional stuff, but it's, I would think maybe I guess you were saying more like the service or the curriculum, and that could be interesting. But I think an issue there is if it was like a really nice, easy to use website or something, or some software behind the scenes that created a sort of a curriculum interface where you could get students to do like projects where everything is broken down and it's easy, and then it could be the little pieces. They could pick a little piece or something to do. If there was a good software interface that managed all that, and made it easy for any student, then that would be workable. But that's a big problem to solve in its own. So
STEM program. I mean, that's in fact why they're keeping them around. He said because he started the STEM program with a 3D printer years ago. It wasn't our 3D printer. It was actually one of those that you see in the picture. His school got really interested in that. So there's outliers, people like William, who do have a different agenda and who actually go the extra mile and do things differently. And then again, there's a lot of, think about the FIRST Robotics, right? Everyone does FIRST Robotics, and starting an effort similar to that through a movement like OSE Plus. I mean, there's tons of possibilities. The question is, where do we start getting started?
I think that future farmers of America and 4-H would be good to really push.
It does seem like the younger students in primary schools are probably a little harder to get inroads in that. And it sounded like Greg Gage was suggesting that it was mostly for undergrad students with the neural link as well, which sounds, it seems like this is fairly simple equipment, but I could see meaningful stuff coming from that. So, yeah, it's kind of how do you make kits that are, or, I mean, in this case it is kind of more the 3D printers and things like that, or a lot of it is also just the whole ecosystem, which, so it is more of like a classroom or a lab type setup, because you want larger machines or the full ecosystem of machines. And of course a lot of it is getting that design and development done, but
Dave, I think the enabling part is the modularity, right? Because you can take any project and break it down into however small parts. So, for to make people interested in. But if we can succeed at that, there's a lot of stuff that can be done that's actually meaningful feedback and data on all the work that we do, simply by the fact that, as I was mentioning today, that there's so many different points of innovation to make. Just tweak this little thing or this other thing, and you have things that can be the same yet very different. There's a lot of tweaking that can be done. So
yeah, the sort of,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
I was just going to say the mass micro collaboration, sort of distributed collaboration, always the thing with that is kind of, well, it's getting all the pieces that kind of go with that, getting software and stuff and making it easier for documentation and the important side stuff that it's probably often, you can get students or anybody to do any of that stuff, but it probably needs an interface and setup that's fairly clear for students. And yeah, I guess maybe the teachers and of course people, if you're trying to do that in an educational system, they can kind of help set up some of this stuff and define some of the parameters and break things down, and that's a good way to look at that. But I imagine for teachers and so on, it's a matter of time. So they like predefined curricula and things that are readily available.
well, what does that mean for us? That means we got to do some packaging, right? That's called business development.
But part of business development is knowing where your inroads are.
Yeah.
So I just really don't think I think it's going to be a whole lot of effort for the return on that one. Talk about, so like if I
Yeah, so yeah, back to the printer. I guess I've downloaded your file too to look at that. So there's I guess questions there. I started doing the only thing I really got done recently was a little bit more added parts to the full assembly to check some distances and things there. And I just grabbed some parts files that I had. So they might be a little dated. The file got a little larger because of the extruder I added there. That was a few megabytes. For some reason, it's complicated. But I added kind of like those basic motor, uh, the simplified versions of those motor parts in there, just like you have in your assembly. Um, and I see you've modified a number of things, I guess, on the new one, which is interesting. And it looks like actually, if I've seen what you did there, you actually modified one of the universal access parts for a through hole. That's, I guess, one of the last things you did. I see there.
It's really convenient to get the wires through there, otherwise it would work kind of nicely. So I'm actually using it to triangle wire routing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So,
since then, we just rip a hole through it.
yeah, is it going to be a unique part then? So that's just for that spot.
I'm pulling it apart right there, and it's no longer unique, and I can go to the button right there. So
Okay.
it's a universal switch,
Well,
and this
mm,
this is the switch for controlling it. So
mm-hmm.
um,
So I guess my point is it's a unique part specific to that version and to that axis there. It's the only part. So you end up printing a different part just for that, right? It's not is it's a different part for included into the universal access. So yeah, I've been wondering in some of the different versions how I think John was pointing earlier. I didn't get any magnet spots on that clamp, and he left a note there for me about that. And I had forgotten about that to some degree, but the shape of it is so odd that it doesn't do that. And I know you've been talking a lot about people didn't like the magnets as much, and it looks like with this design and the assembly here you have here, you don't need. Well, and I guess you still have a metal frame, and you can attach with magnets, but there's probably ways you could to work around that. Are you thinking of moving away from the magnets for a lot of the things more?
well, yeah, the magnet pieces are there. The fact that they're still there, after years, like
Yeah.
um, they can be used, but if you want something that's got contact machine, no.
Hmm.
For printer that's experimental and reconfigurable, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That would be one of the many variations. But the official version, I think we put it on a main truck release.
Hmm.
Like say the kit that we do right now. No, no magnets. Just very simple because the frames are already CNC cut to accommodate the holes for the through holes.
Yeah. Okay. So bolting stuff and less magnets. That's kind of what I'm wondering if on the universal access, obviously, at some point, if changing away from the magnets enough, I mean, it's kind of figuring we wanted to keep the universal access design a little more static, but it could be interesting to do. Maybe it's time to think of different designs on those options, especially looking at this PVC. Like you made a new versions of the shorter end stops you were saying there. I see they're a bit simpler. On the PVC, I'm looking at it there with that one magnet mount point, and from the beginning I was measuring, and it looks like those work better there probably because they're longer and because of the thickness of the frame itself and the position of things. It's like you probably need the longer end stop. So things vary depending on how your frame is. So
But the current end stop is completely adjustable. So
okay.
or it can be long. You can put it wherever. So that's the good part about it is it's adjustable.
Yeah, I assume the switch itself, it has metal stuff that there's some room to work with that. Because I know I measured what it looked like in the CAD, but the CAD, of course, will never be exactly it's the same as the switch in real life. So the what I measured on those switches with the metal uh, lever looks.
I like it, but going
Okay. Yeah.
Take with the aluminum extruder, because that's the one that we can make pretty much ourselves. This one, the problem is that the way it's mounted right now, it's on the clamp on
Yeah.
the seat there.
It's.
The bolts are not good enough. Like with
Mm,
vehicles, that would end up coming off. Like if you're going really fast, that would just shake out of there after some time.
oh.
So in a
Okay.
version just before this one, I just put some epoxy there on the hood because
Hmm.
you can't keep that motor in. It's got a lot of inertia.
Yeah, I think I pulled that out of a file that was a year or so or two old, maybe. So that's outdated. But yeah.
But this is cool. Like for a low cost version, the Pipe Aero, which is $120 by itself, that's what I think is pretty decent low cost version. So, but yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd say, to be ready to become like hittable or like marketable or something like with the new Williams extruder, the single wheel force one that we print ourselves and make ourselves out of simple parts. Because the thing about these too, like as you look at this extruder, they can like when you just rely, see this thing has little different dimensions where you can just buy, like for example, the neck shorter or longer, typical Chinese sourcing stuff. So that you have no control over the dimensions and where you actually stand. So using an extruder like this is quite interesting. The good reason why I like it was that you can get the same water, and then we also
Hmm.
have the way we have the the sensor probe mounted. You have to actually modify so we can mount it under the fan. So you have to actually cut off some of the aluminum. So there's a few refinements that make this kind of a pain in the behind to work with. But once we address those, I'm suggesting versions,
Okay.
it'll be great.
Yeah, the extruder.
Spending time together those pieces for Williams.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I'll do the extruder assembly, and I guess I got the bed and so on to get in there. And I wasn't too sure. I was kind of going based on some of the old CAD, which way things should face, and I know most of the time it looked like all the motors were on one side. In this case, the issue right now is it makes it heavy on one side, and I'm worried if it's possible. It probably wouldn't tip over or anything like that, but because it actually ends up resting on the bottom of that clamp at one point down there, it might tend to rock around or something, and if it was moving in operation that way. Um, but I think we talked about that before, maybe some feet on it or something. But also that to maximize the print area, I wasn't sure if there's obviously different ways you could attach or face the extruder. And then the motors, I was trying to see whether they clear certain points where they might hit the frame or the clamp, it looks like. Things like that, because they could be configured or attached
Yeah,
differently.
and that's exactly why you want to do all that in CAD because for a machine I did in CAD, yeah, I took dimensions off of that to build this right now, and it's accurate that it's a working real CAD, not just VS CAD where it's just a concept. It's actual shows that I actually was very specific to get the exact 8 by 8 inch bed area by designing that in CAD and making exactly right in CAD. So that's where you can do that.
I think I saw for the bed, it looked like in the new versions, the easier way to do that is to literally just clamp it between some axis parts, right? There's just rods that go through the z-axis and then just clamp it between axis parts, right? So I guess, yeah, so,
Well, you can put the rods into the holes. That's your idler piece. Put a few rods in there and put the plate right on top of that. 6 inches. It
mhm,
won't sag on you.
yeah. Yeah, and then I guess, let's see, yeah, the general question, of course, is where is the 6-inch bed area? Because I guess um, got to figure out a clear space for that, where everything prints and can move freely. And then generally that has to be determined because I assume some of that has to be configured in software. I mean, there's a certain amount of automatic stuff, but I assume there's some software configuration to do. So you have to figure out where the print area actually is to define that better. But
Part is easier. The hard part is getting it correct and really not hit anything. If you
yeah,
want to study the range of motion analysis, look at my file, and as is, it's designed in the correct place, and you can trace how, okay, we move axis all the way one way, it hits the bed, and it's all arranged so it's symmetrically correct for getting the bed in the right place. But here, yeah, that's all that work you have to do here.
hmm. Yeah, I see. In
And basically, you can do that as simple as, okay, so now I see here, for example, the axis is blank. Um, with this carriage piece movable, then you can actually slide it left and right, and you can see where things fit. So you can actually move the whole thing and make things
yeah,
nice.
I
Yeah.
trying to design my part assemblies so that I could easily modify that kind of stuff and it would update. And I haven't really tested that too much yet to see how much they move around, but you can just do measurements and look at stuff. Yeah, there should be a certain amount of, to do more animation and things like that, it's like you need to have more individual parts and less simplified assemblies, of course, is the issue, but that's not necessarily that hard to do either, so,
If you want to see a way to do that, my whole file is under a meg. It's like 700 or so, and I've got all the each pieces as individual. You
mhm.
can take a look at that for how I do
Oh,
it.
yeah, I see that um, in your file there. Yeah, I'm seeing well, different things in that file there. Actually, now I'm trying to figure out what you have going on underneath the bed in your file there. You've just got some parts stacked to,
Well,
they're, I guess they're not technically correct. What's that?
yes, the bed is great because otherwise it would not reach the level the way
Oh,
you want to with the
okay.
horizontal elevator unit.
So just added
Those
some
are still the
pieces.
same stack of idler pieces.
Yeah, okay, they're overlapped it looks like currently, but that's, yeah, what do we had to do to,
The whole piece, and I split
okay.
it in half. So I'm using 3 pieces, which is 1.5
Hmm.
inches.
You might have to, so in other words, you probably have to print a part for that purpose, I guess. Hmm. Um, hmm. And, yeah, and so generally, huh. Well, if the bed is a certain size, huh. Yeah, I don't know how you'd make parts to clamp that differently because it's taller, so
Well,
you'd have to make some custom stuff.
yeah, for the clamping, I'm using, right now the method for doing that is we put spacer nuts, or we put three
Oh,
nuts over the rod
right.
and just jig weld them on each side
Epoxy. Yeah.
in place.
Okay, I saw that method too. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess some of the stuff in your CAD file there is just to get it, yeah, to where it's spaced out right and so on. So, yeah, that's not
All the spacing there is correct. It's
not
something that
not the final parts, but it's kind of laid out correctly. Yeah.
right. I'm using simplified parts to get things done right.
Okay.
So they are in the right position. Like for example, the peg on the axis
And you said this is a 12-inch version as well with a 6-inch bed, so that's similar. Okay, an 8-inch bed. Okay.
This is optimized for like the smallest frame that still has a fusion after the 8-inch bed. So that's pretty efficient because typically like your outer frame is way bigger than bed. This is like
Okay.
4 inches bigger than the bed.
Yeah. Okay. See, the outer frame is 12 inches. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's somewhat similar to the PVC. It's just, yeah, the frame is.
Yeah, similar. But so you're gonna get on let's say where you are right now, you're gonna get probably like 5 by 6 maximum wall resistance.
Yeah, the print area, or yeah.
Because I did the trick where I straddled the X over the top to get a much longer
Hmm.
on the X. So that's
Yeah,
assuming
that's.
that between the axes there's reduces a lot of that space.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use this trick or keep yours. Now the nice thing about yours is this is like even more powerful, right?
Hmm.
Because so it's kind of elegant because it's like all the components are outside the frame, but that's the way you get a bigger bed out of a small frame.
Yeah, and I guess the X-axis rods are a lot longer that way too. So let's see, you've got two.
They turn out to be 17 inches while the frame itself is 12 inches.
Oh, and you have two. Oh, I just realized you have two Z-axes. Okay. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. This is a professional grade printer.
Okay,
This
got
is
it.
a pretty high performance printer.
Yeah, more precision. Okay.
With a high
I guess.
with speed motor.
Hmm. And the motors. Huh. Okay. So, and you still got plenty of motor connections, or they're just hooked in parallel. Huh. Or I mean, yeah, the
Yeah.
extra motors. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, they don't add a lot of power, I guess, because they're not. Well, they're not really doing much. The extra Z-axis motor, right?
When you're going fast, like crank speed of 30 millimeters per second, this thing, I'm aiming to show printing at 300
Hmm.
millimeters per second. That's blazing fast, and this thing will probably fall.
Oh,
That's really fast. These don't
yeah.
work just like that.
Hmm.
The inertia is huge. So that's where you
Oh.
use your acceleration wanda to work. You got
Oh.
acceleration settings within Marlin, but yeah, that thing is going to be
Hmm.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess normally there aren't a lot of quick, long motions, but I guess there could be. And mostly it's short, tiny micro steps, right? So you're saying it would
Oh, that's
rock around, or because of.
no, it's mostly the speed motor. You're printing at an 8 by 8 square.
Yeah.
Your inside's going to print 11 inches of travel.
Yeah. That's. Yeah. I guess that happens pretty fast then on the infill. Yeah. But I guess it's the Z-axis that doesn't do as much motion. That's per layer.
Oh yeah,
So
that's super
yeah.
slow.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Actually, one thing I was wondering about on the precision on the printers. We keep talking about that. I've seen people printing. I guess there's different benches and so on, but for the accuracy, have you tried things like the hinges, not just sort of living hinges, although I guess those are a precision thing too, and sometimes they're justifiable if you're doing something that you know is not going to last long for prototypes or something that you recycle right away. But I've seen them printing like functional pin hinges, and I get that requires quite of an accuracy. Is that something that you've tested on a bunch of printers yet, or at all?
No,
No.
I haven't done hinges. Where do you want a hinge here?
Well, I don't want to hinge, but I was curious what you said this one is probably more accurate and faster. Um,
Yeah.
the pin hinges, I don't know how much extra they require even compared to living hinges. Living hinges might actually be harder, but the pin hinge functionality is like probably sounds like something that a lot of people would want to be able to print. Because if you can print, simple containers and things that have just hinges.
Right. Yeah, that's easy to do. Um,
Yeah, it looked like I was kind of surprised at that. You can just print them out as a single part, and they just function, which I was surprised that works.
yeah. Yeah, you'll have things that have intelligent joints. You mean
hmm
proprietary gears that fit one piece? Yes.
Yeah, I've seen gearboxes, and they use PVA usually for that kind of stuff, and then you use water to melt that out. But I was kind of surprised the hinges they just printed, and they were pretty usually freely moving right away that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that is pretty amazing.
for tiny boxes and things like that, enclosures and so on.
One question on that is,
Oh, um, so how did the
motor it, keep it up, and
how much clamping force did we have on that? I see the photo there. The clamp, did that seem to not much?
no, it was thick.
Hmm.
It was
Was that
that little gap there.
yeah? Is that the 2 millimeter version?
I didn't try that yet, so I haven't
Oh,
tried that.
is that so? That's the 1 millimeter gap there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said in the email, my only concern was the strength of like the bolting face. I think on the 2 millimeter because there was a really thin area there where the bolt head or would sit against it. If somebody torqued it down, I wasn't sure how well that might hold. But
You got to do the right alignment. Um,
hmm.
but absolutely, if you can get a 3D printer, go right ahead and get $100 and build it. I think you can get one of these things down to maybe $160.
Hmm. So the frame and parts, what's that? You think that includes?
It includes parts.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, look at the really simple BOM.
Okay.
Simple. Look at the BOM. Bear with me. I have another one. So the current one says 186 plus extruder. The recursion version, which means that we're like 7 or 8,
Hmm.
like aluminum, we're milling ourselves, $101. Making our own extruder, go for that. Um,
Hmm. Okay.
Most
So
expensive part is 4 motors at $8 each. Controllers still $20. Everything else is printed, like belts. Do we have printed belts? Yeah, the belts are not even there. You have
okay.
to print the belts and sprockets.
Hmm. Well, yeah. So you need to get rubber printing.
Yeah.
You need a rubber printer, and then you're saying on the, I guess on the making your own extruder, the parts there you'd make would be actually milling some aluminum blocks for the extruder itself, right? Hmm.
Yeah, milling. I think you're overstating because you can do a simple one like milling a block, but you got to go from half that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's impossible. If
Hmm.
you want to create a back like a Titan arrow, yeah, you're milling the pins and
Yeah, I understood they were trying to shorten and simplify the extruders a lot, the pathways and so on. I'm not up on the extruders. I think I heard about that, specifically the Titan Arrow. I probably watched some videos or something about that, the newer versions. And
yeah. That current version is so-called optimized, but it's not. It's still a
yeah, and I guess there's a lot of ways I guess you can make that. You've got to mill it more if you want changeable nozzles and all that kind of stuff. That requires some tapping or some manual maybe some manual boring and tapping that way, I guess. It's changeable nodules, or I don't know if there's anything that has quick change nozzles or anything like that. That's probably not very feasible, but being able to change nozzles, yeah, I don't know how you would make it work. So,
That could be a perfect investment for the homeschooler
yeah,
in Alaska.
figure out how to do that, yeah. Um,
I mean, if you look at change types of buffers or hydraulics, outside of PSI,
yeah,
you can figure out what it is.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's probably just the level of precision machining that's required to make a yeah, some type of screw fitting. Um,
I'd say you could get away with as good as for hydraulic buffers is
hmm,
say you do that sealing part for the cold part, like make it recover for the cold part, so you're not exposing that to heat,
hmm,
and it's still kind of like snaps in kind of hard, and it's got the sufficient contact. That would be an interesting thing. But those parts are so small that it's hard to do that, so you have to expand their size probably.
yeah, hmm, hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, and
if we have
it,
to move it, like I was thinking about, A, make the parts bigger, so we make them like I was thinking we can eliminate the neck. B, eliminate the part that these the filament is driven to the metal parts. Eliminate
hmm,
that by putting the drive cogs so close to it,
hmm,
right?
yeah,
Or if you eliminated the heat sink altogether,
hmm,
that'd be great in this design. That's just a concept, but that might
huh.
happen though.
Yeah,
You still get the thin section, but I was thinking, okay, well, why don't we just make some thin section plus nozzles? Make it long so you can
hmm,
get all the way through and feed it right on top of the metal. Because
see,
make okay, you fire like take take your nozzle, and it has to be toughness.
hmm.
So that's hard to achieve.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since I've seen much videos about the extruders, and I don't have experience with it. So, um, the yeah, the thermals have to be complicated on all this stuff. Anytime you change anything, I can imagine the prototyping is hard to, yeah, requires a lot of time testing because the thermal variation on stuff has got to be complicated for different types of materials. So,
Okay, we'll get into that because I do believe that the extruder construction set. Well, first of all, the extruder, plastic extruder is part of the whole construction set, and that's kind of like if you take the whole plumbing and enclosure around that, that means extruders of all sorts, including the extruders that are used to make filament itself. So we'll get much more into that as we proceed.
yeah,
Okay, so let's keep rolling on here.
all right.
Okay, so I would say the main thing there is not throw. So you got to not throw them in a cooling fan, but no, yeah, pre-cooled fan, yes, you'd like it pre-cooled.
Hmm,
You don't need it, but
okay.
so an assembly probably similar to mine. If you look at what I did on a pro mount slash quick cooling fan mount, that system, the whole system still does not have a cooling fan. It's not right.
Hmm,
So you're going to need to accommodate both cooling fan and the pro in the design that William is open sourcing. So the work from William is not done yet. So it'll be a perfect exercise for spare time. Tuesday, it will be our next session, 2 to 4. Let's call it 2 to 4. I'll get that note out. 2 to 4 on the open source gold card. We'll finish up seeing how much of the CAD we can compose together. And otherwise, next meeting on next Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central, same time and place on the good side. So thanks everybody, and we'll meet on Friday again. Take care. Yes, please upload this. I'll save this and upload this to YouTube. Thanks everybody.
Okay, good meeting. Later.
Thank you.
Recording has stopped.